That is the main event of UFC 200, and Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt will be on the card as well, as you know by now, and it now feels like an event. It feels like a big deal. There's no doubt about that. And with the 3 cards back to back to back, title fight on Thursday, Rafael dos Anjos and Eddie Alvarez. Title fight on Friday, Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Claudia Gadelha on FS1 on Friday, and then 3 title fights, not to mention the return of Brock on Saturday. Feels like a pretty big deal. One of those title fights, the interim featherweight title will be on the line. It will be Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar. Rematch for them as well. They fought several years ago. That one was won by Jose Aldo. Frankie looks to settle that score on July 9th, and he joins us right now on the phone. Frankie, are you there?
I'm here, Ariel. How are you?
I'm doing great, my man. Thank you so much for joining us. So a big weekend for you, right? You opened up a gym in New Jersey?
I did. I had my grand opening of UFC gym Frankie Edgar in North Brunswick, and it was a great turnout. Had a bunch of people out: Renzo Gracie, Eddie Alvarez, Edson Barboza, Marlon Moraes, David Branch, Natal. You know, all the troops came out. It was an awesome day.
Wow! So is this something that you've always wanted to do, like your own branded gym? It says your name on it, right?
It does. It's it's just like BJ's in Hawaii. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I always wanted to get into, even when I was wrestling, you know, I knew I was going to open up a wrestling club or something like that. And then obviously I moved on to MMA and, yeah, the UFC, you know, I actually went to a grand opening in Long Island for the UFC gym, and that's when I got the ball rolling with it. And that was about, you know, almost 3 years ago at this point.
Now, how, like, will you be at the gym? Can people just go train and you're just hanging out there? Or is this just one where it's your name and you have your own private thing?
No, I mean, you know, I'm not going to be there every day doing the day-to-day, you know, things, but I will definitely be popping in, you know, on a weekly, maybe bi-weekly basis for sure.
Okay. And
you know, whether I'm working out myself or even teaching classes from time to time.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And are you hoping to open more, or you just want one?
Yeah, you know, I don't want to put anything on it. You know, obviously this has got to be successful before we move on. But, yeah, you know, I'm always looking for the future, always looking to grow. You know, if I can open more in New Jersey and possibly even in my hometown in the future, that would be definitely something I'm looking to do.
Last week, of course, as I said, you're fighting Jose Aldo. There were some rumors that he was injured. He came out and said, I'm fine. Did you freak out when all this came, or did you not even pay attention to it? What was your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, I really didn't worry about it. I didn't hear anything. You know, obviously you heard rumors, and, you know, I just looked at it as, you know, I'm going to be there no matter what. You know, I'm going to be there. I'm going to show up July 9th ready to fight. And whoever it may be, obviously I want it to be Jose Aldo. You know, I think he deserves it, and I think, you know, that's the fight that I want, obviously, based on the fact that, you know, I was close to beating him last time, so a little revenge in the air and whatnot, and I think he's definitely the guy to fight for the title.
When we last had you on the show, it was around the time that it was announced that, you know, I think it was right before the Conor-Nate fight, and you were hurt. And we were talking, you know, you were obviously disappointed that you weren't in consideration in the way the whole thing was handled. Would you say that the relationship with the UFC brass has been improved? Do you feel like you're on the same page? Do you want to still sit down and talk to them and clear the air about that whole thing? How do you feel about it all?
No, we got through it. You know, I actually texted Dana, you know, pretty much I think that day or maybe the next day after, and you know, we squared everything away. Obviously, I was just upset the way it went down, and maybe it was just the way he relayed the news wasn't the way I liked it. But, you know, I don't think it was a stab at me or anything. It was just the way it went down. And, you know, here we are. I'm fighting for the interim title, and I guess it's the next best thing instead of fighting for the real championship.
Does it still bother you that it's the interim title, especially because Conor's fighting, again, Nate Diaz in August?
It does, but, you know, I can't really focus on that. Again, if he does come back down to 45, if he ever does, you know, and I have the interim, he has to fight me.
Yeah.
So that's a positive. I'm looking at it, but, you know, I have a feeling he's not going to come back down, and it becomes the real title anyway.
Have you been told that, or is that just a gut feeling?
That's just a gut feeling. I mean, you know, if a guy doesn't come back down, it has to be, right?
Yeah.
You know, if it's for the interim title, I think it happened with Cruz. I believe Brad had the interim title for a while, and Cruz couldn't come back because of injury, so he ended up being the champion.
So when they offered you this fight, your initial like, did it take a while to, because I haven't talked to you since they offered the fight. I wasn't in New York for that press conference when you guys were at MSG. Did it take some convincing, or were you already mentally prepared to fight Aldo even before they offered you the fight?
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be Aldo.
Okay.
You know, I'm not really one to, I'm pretty easy to talk into fights, I guess. You know, it may not be a good thing at times,
Yeah.
but, Dana called and said it's going to be for the interim, and I'm going to call Aldo, and if Aldo says no, you'll be fighting someone else for the interim. So in other words, if I said no, he'd be fighting someone else for the interim. So I figured it even before it kind of got brought up to me anyway.
Okay, so you said yes even before he said yes.
Yes, exactly. But I believe he said yes right away as well.
Okay. How many times have you watched that first fight that you guys had? I believe it was UFC 143, if memory serves me correct. How many times have you watched it, do you think, over the years?
Not much. I'm not a big guy to watch fights. I've definitely been watching clips of it, as of recently because of our fight coming up here on July 9th. My coach, Mark, kind of forces me to do that. But I'm really not a guy that likes to watch too much stuff. We watch certain things that maybe I didn't do the correct way, or some things that maybe I did well that we feel we could use in this next fight. But even fights I win, I really don't like to watch myself that much. So
you mentioned Mark Henry, and I'm happy you did. I was talking about this recently on another show of ours, the MMA Beat, how he might be one of the most underrated coaches in MMA, and B, your entire team, and you mentioned most of them when you were talking about the guys who went to the gym opening over the weekend, doesn't get the attention and respect that it deserves in the MMA world. And I think, as crazy as this sounds, I think the reason for that is because you guys don't have some kind of name. Like I know it's like Ricardo Almeida, BJJ, but it's not an AKA, it's not a Jackson Wink, it's not a ATT, it's not a Black Zillions. Have you ever thought about that? Do you even care about that sort of thing? Because people really should be talking about you and Mark and the rest of your team a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, I think it's also has to do with the fact that, Ricardo and Mark are just not big egos. I think Mark kind of downplays his greatness a lot, and I think all of us, I really don't have big egos. We're all kind of here to help each other. And that's just the way I think Mark likes it, We're like that little team in the basement, in other words. And, and he kind of likes it that way. And he kind of come around undetected is not a bad thing.
Okay, so you don't say to yourself, I wish Mark would get more credit in the coach of the year talk and all stuff, because when you look at what he's done for you and some of those other fighters, it's nothing short of amazing. He really should be talked about more, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. He deserves all the recognition in the world. But he's like the best kept secret, I guess. You know? And you don't want him to get too big for his britches, and then maybe we'll lose him. I doubt that would happen. But, people will recognize it. Just like myself, I feel like people haven't recognized what I've done for the longest time, but now they're finally starting to. It's
funny that you say the little team in the basement, because you guys actually do train in his basement, right?
We do, yeah. we train in his basement. He comes obviously to sparring in other areas or other places, but when we do our just mid sessions, they're in Mark's basement.
What was your reaction when you found out what happened to Chad Mendes, who was your last opponent? What did you think of that over the weekend? I
was surprised. I really was. I didn't think he was one to dabble. Apparently I'm wrong. I don't really know the specifics. It's just I don't know if they're even out yet. In the state of violation, who knows what the violation is? So,
right.
But I was surprised. I didn't think Chad was one of them.
Are you surprised that they don't come out? Because they tell us that he's suspended provisionally, but they don't tell us what it is. So it could be a supplement, it could be a steroid, it could be marijuana. Who the heck knows? Do you think that they should tell us more so that people don't, call you guilty before you're proven innocent, type of thing? As a fighter, do you think? Would you rather?
I get. Yeah, I don't know, man. I figure for me, I'll never have to worry about it. So
sure.
However they want to break the news is fine by me. But yeah, I think they should kind of give the guys a fair shake. I mean, look at BJ. BJ got, it was just an IV thing. It wasn't like he took anything illegal. It was just a simple IV thing. And I believe they did say that they broke that news like that. They didn't say he was suspended and then we had to wait, a couple weeks to find out it was just an IV. But maybe that's the case with Chad. Who knows?
Your manager and friend Ali Abdelaziz reached out to me recently, and he was fired up because, according to the USADA website, Jose Aldo hasn't been tested at a competition in the second quarter, so in the months leading up to this fight. Have you been made aware of that, and are you as bothered about this as he is? It is what it is, man. He's going to get. I actually, believe it or not, Osada came and got me this morning over at Ricardo's Jiu-Jitsu. Got me and Edson Barboza. Oh wow! So I'm assuming he's going to get tested soon as well. And it's just, do you want to risk it? Do these guys really want to risk the fact that they come in and get you and you're using? I don't know. I think that just the fact that
just the risk of them coming, even if they don't come, the risk should keep these guys straight. I mean, it should, but then, we see Chad. I guess it didn't work for him.
Sure. But did you tell them when they came to you, like, oh, are you going to my opponent as well because he hasn't been tested yet?
I didn't know. I mean, I don't know how it works if the person that comes to me has any, insight on who gets tested and why or what, So I just, did my thing and went to work afterwards.
Ali's all fired up about this. I'm sure he's told you.
He is. I mean, I get it. I mean, we all want a fair shake. Who knows? And, I guess historically, because Aldo's team has been busted, quite a few times before. And, I mean, yeah, we want a fair shake. But, I think, does he really want to risk, getting banned for 2 years or whatever it may be, by popping for a positive test,
After the way in which he lost in December, are you expecting a different Aldo from the one that you fought when he was so dominant, when he was on that undefeated run? I mean, when you get knocked out like that quickly and that precisely, do you feel like it drastically changes a fighter?
We just don't know. He's going to have to, get through some things with his head. And, even losses mess with you when you're that dominant. But to lose that way and to the guy that he lost to that's been in his head for so long. I mean, Conor's definitely the worst guy to lose to in that fashion.
Right.
I mean, he's going to he already let the world know before it, and then he lets the world know after. And, he digs better than anybody. So I think that's just probably the hardest thing for him to get through. And, some guys get through it and some guys don't. I mean, but he may say this and say that in the lead up to our fight, but even himself's not going to know until he steps in foot in that octagon.
Do you think if you were some other kind of fighter, like a Barbosa type, a striker primarily, that he'd be defending his title against you? Do you think because of your skill set and because people believe that your kind of skill set is the worst matchup for him, that's the reason why he has yet to defend the title?
Yeah, I think that, and then just, at 45, he just has everything to lose. At 70, he has nothing to lose. I mean, even though Nate's a 55-pounder and they just decided not to cut weight, so they could go around and market the fact that he's going up 2 weight classes, which is ridiculous because he's fighting Nate Diaz, who's a 55-pounder. And, if he loses at 70, it's, he was too big. He needs to fight guys that he's bigger than,
Yeah.
And at 45, he loses, then he has nothing. I mean, then he loses his title, and then what? He has a really hard time making that weight anyway. He goes to 55. He's not going to get it's not going to be in the title talks, for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel he's a smart guy, Conor. The way he promotes himself, the fights he gets, he's a very smart guy. He's got good coaches around him, and they're making the right decisions for his career.
Are you still thinking about one day going down to 135?
I don't know. I mean, it's doable. It's definitely doable. But I just want this 45-pound first. I don't even want to sidetrack myself with the 35-pound title talk. I got to take care of business against Aldo, and hopefully Conor comes down and I get that fight as well.
Is it fair to say that the dream right now is obviously you're victorious on July 9th and then you fight Conor at MSG for the real title to unify the belts, I should say? That has to be it, right?
Yeah, you can't write something better than that. You know, and why wouldn't Conor want to fight MSG? I mean, there's definitely a big Irish contingency in New York, and could possibly be the biggest fight in UFC history.
When talking to Dana, when he offered you the fight, did you lay that out, say, like, look, I'll take this fight, but can you at least promise me if I win that I'll get him at MSG or at some point down the line? Was any of that discussed?
He knows what I want, and to have these promise me stuff just doesn't really work too well in this sport, So I kind of just take it one at a time and not really try to ink up anything for the future, because you know how it goes. Sure,
you would know better than anyone. You've been there. You've certainly been there before. By the way, what was your reaction when you found out that Brock was going to be on the card?
I was fired up. I mean, he's our biggest pay-per-view draw to date.
Yeah.
He's recently he's coming fresh out of the WWE. He's going to bring over a bunch of new fans, and the more eyes on him, the more eyes on me. I'm going to be fighting right before him. So I mean, that's just it's just great for everybody on the card. Great for MMA. People that MMA purists are like, oh, why is this guy coming on? But who cares? The fact that he's bringing an audience is great for everybody.
What do you think? You think this beats the UFC 100 record, the pay-per-view record of 1.6, 1.7?
I do. I mean, it's a very big magnitude on it. Obviously, if Conor and Nate were on this card, maybe it would shatter it. But I I still think we have enough star power, and it's going to be a great. They put so much promotion behind it.
Yeah.
And I think we're there.
I love that commercial with you guys warming up. I could even hear Ali hyping you up in the background. Did you hear that?
I did. That's very true. That's how he is too. So.
Oh, that's real.
That's real, man. That's how he is. Always running. Come on,
Yes.
He's always running his mouth.
He's your hype man. It's great. Did you enjoy filming that?
It was cool. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I don't really enjoy any working at all too much other than in the gym. But it was cool and it came out great. They're definitely promoting this 200. More so than any fight I've been involved. I think more so than any fight they've ever had, actually.
And it's great that you are a part of it. Let's end on this. In the past, I've asked you this question, but given the stakes and given what could be at stake if you win this fight, is it more important now than ever to finish Aldo? Is a decision not enough in your mind, or do you just want the W? Because, after you beat Mendes the way you beat him, everyone and their mom thought that you were going to get the title shot, that you had proved it, that there was no denying you, and we know how that turned out. But if you put that exclamation point on Aldo and actually finish him, do you feel like then you'll be forcing their hand once and for all? If you get a decision, do you feel like you're giving them an out at all?
Yeah, a finish puts a stamp on everything, and I felt I'm really coming into my own in this 45-pound division. I have 3 finishes in my last 5 fights, and I want to keep the trend going. And, last time, every time I feel like I'm in a close decision, it seems like I don't take it.
Right.
Finish, I don't have to worry about that.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait for it, Frankie. Thank you so much for the time. Congrats on the new gym. Hopefully one day I can come check it out since I'm not too far away. And looking forward to the fight very much. Looking forward to the entire weekend. Good luck to you and the team. I know Eddie Alvarez is also fighting for the belt on Thursday night. Thanks a lot, my man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Always a pleasure. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. There he is. The answer. Frankie Edgar stopping by, fighting Jose Aldo this July 9th, less than a month away at UFC 200. The UFC interim featherweight title will be on the line, and you have to think that especially if it's Frankie, if he wins, man, Frankie Edgar versus Conor McGregor in a title unification bout at Madison Square Garden, at the world's most famous arena, at the Mecca, at the home of the 2017 NBA champion New York Knicks. That just seems like the no-brainer of all no-brainers, right? It's got to happen.